LPT If you're getting a remote job, pick one that's very far from your home. If you live in Boston and your company is in Boston, they might pressure you to come in 1 day a week, which becomes more and make it awkward to refuse. If you live in Chicago, they can't, so they'll either lay you off or let you keep working from home. Yep. Moved out of state when my job was 100 remote, and now they're pressuring everyone to come into the office 2 days per week. I get to be an exception since I live far away and they don't want to fire me. Yeah, I moved to a different county when my job went fully remote from now on. Guess what? Now we have to go in 3x a week and it takes me over an hour each way. And I have to pay for parking because they moved everyone downtown. The only exception being if you live 45 miles away. In a large metro area, that can be a 2-hour commute. My company just put out an ultimatum to all IT workers who were hired, even for remote, that they have 6 months to return to the office or be terminated. Some of the guys live 12 hours away, but still in the same state. Going to lose a lot of good people. Now I only need to find a remote job. I really don't get the return to office push. Our division is completely remote, with people in US, India and UK. It works well. They probably get more work out of us since we all need to work extra hours early or late to meet with people in other time zones. That will far more difficult if we were all going to offices. Not to mention more expensive for the company. Not to mention how pod employees are when forced to return to an office. Or start making you fly in every other week. If they wanted someone to come in once a week, wouldn't they just reject your application if you're too far? Be careful, some companies are starting to reduce salaries for remote workers, as the premium pay for cost of living is only intended to compensate employees for living in the expensive city where the office is. My job is in New Hampshire. Not only do I not live near there, I live closer to the other coast near Idaho. I've never been to New Hampshire. I've literally thought about moving farther away from my job for this reason, lol. Better life pro tip: if you get a remote job, negotiate your offer letter to include the fact that you are a 100 remote employee who will never be required to work in an office. Then negotiate a severance, something like 1 month for every 3 months worked, with a minimum severance of 4 months' pay if you are laid off for any reason. They'll either lay you off or let you keep working from home. Okay, what's the difference between this and the Boston job? Except maybe you don't get laid off in Boston? I have a situation at work where I'm the HR person and we list positions as being hybrid, so partial work from home. We are straight up not allowed to have people fully WFH anyway, nor do the positions even make sense to do from home entirely. We make this so clear in interviews, and yet people complain about their drive to work being long, 30 minutes, and they refuse to work in the office. It baffles me. It's an on-site job supervising. They applied and they know what the job entails. This is so common that I think I'm doing something wrong. Good point. By accident I did it, and now during back to the office time I am completely justified. But on the other hand, sometimes I miss the office. 1 day a week doesn't sound too bad, assuming it's a productive day. While I will advocate for remote work with an option to come in, I hate having a mandate to come in. I would much rather to come in whenever I want to rather than force. Honestly, that's not possible a lot of the times because of taxes. Just say you are based in North Korea. Is this really a pro tip? It sounds like you'd rather be laid off than come in the office, which seems like horrible career advice. My nearest office is a flight away. I can't even drive there if I wanted to. I used to work for HPE, they just canned everyone that wasn't coming into the office. No. If I get a remote job, it is a remote job. If they ask me to come, it is not under the original remote agreement, and I'll simply refuse to come, whether it is close or not. Yes, plus 2 times a year. I get flown 2.5 hours away for 5 days. Get to stay in a 5-star hotel with a very high food allowance. I never come close to spending all the allowance no matter how much I stuff my face with food. Yeah, the opposite thinking backfired on me. Learn from my story. I got tired of my commute, so bought a home really close work walking distance. We then went to partial telecommute. And whenever there was a need to have an extra person in the office on their TC day, guess who got called in? As far as my boss knows, I don't have a car. Or they'll just fire you and hire someone closer. I agree with this tip. To ensure you continue working remotely, just make sure you can handle the get laid off option, in case they go that way. Employer, we are going to need you to come in 2 days a week. Employee, you can't make me. I read it on Life Pro Tips. Employer, okay. If you don't, you're fired. Up to you. Or they might just fire you when they update their policy and you can't make it in. Yes, picking through job offers sound realistic in this economy, face with rolling eyes. So they'll either lay you off or let you keep working from home. You can do the same thing with the Boston job if you live in Boston by saying no. Always a good choice to make. My brother-in-law and my mother-in-law did the same. They're good workers, so nobody can force them back at the office. This is the first LPT I've ever seen that is actually good. 75 miles away at my company, that's just criminal. 1/4 of our workforce is international, so nobody cares how often you come to the office. Also, I have to see clients, so time in the office is time not at client's office. Win-win for me. Better off just telling them you've moved in with your partner in a different state. And if they ever bump into you in person, just say you're visiting friends' family. Fortunately, the company I consult with did away with their in-person offices entirely. Also, make sure you're getting the local pay from the start, because if they change their minds later and force you to move there, you're not going to be able to do it in what you were offered. I live in the West Midlands and was expected to start coming into the London office 3 days a week. Now I don't have a job. My wife's job was made permanently remote, and after that fact we asked, and were given permission, to move a state away. 6 weeks later we were informed her job was going back into office, and if she couldn't, she would be without a job. It was a shit show. We fought it and came to a settlement, but a lot aren't even that lucky. It took her 6 months to find a new job, and that money didn't come close to lasting that long. Remote jobs are so hard to come by now. I've been trying for a year. Might not have the luxury to be that selective. Yeah, my old company closed all the local offices during the lockdown, implying to everyone that we'd be remote going forward. If you weren't already, like about 1/3 of staff already was. Late 2021. Everybody got told it's back to the office 5 days a week. And if we closed your office, move to New Jersey or hit the bricks. How does one find a remote job, and what field is good as entry level? Yep, I had this same situation getting a new job. Coworker came on with me and was expected to come in 3 days a week. When they tried with me, it went from once a week during the interview process to trying for 3 days a week before I even agreed to accept the job. I had to backtrack and ask if this was actually a remote job at that point and get confirmation in writing.